Welcome back to Interact, everybody. I am joined now by Shweta Saraf. She is the Senior Director of Engineering at Equinix and a fantastic engineering leader. Thank you so much for joining us for Interact today.
Hey, Connor, thanks for having me back. It's great to talk to the dev community here.
Yeah, we love talking to you. She did an incredible job for those who missed it on our remote engineering panel a few weeks back. And we're really excited to have her back to share an engineering leadership screw-up story with us today for Interact. And so what's the story you're going to tell us here?
Yeah, so when Connor reached out, I was like, wow, there are so many stories and we don't talk about screw-ups, but it's important to talk about them and normalize the failure and what you learn from it, right? So today my story is going to be around when we were scaling a team, when we were in high growth phase, how did we make decisions around having a full stack team versus a very domain focused team, and what screw up happened there. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah, so basically this was a time when I had 8 people on my team, all engineers who had a strong backend knowledge. I inherited another team, which was really solid on the front end and the UX side of knowledge. So it was an important decision as a leader, like how do I allow these teams to work together and cross-pollinate and improve our velocity and delivery of results, right?
Right.
So while we had like a lot of metrics and dashboards, like one decision I made as a leader after talking to a bunch of people was, let's create a full stack team. So we took a couple of people from the back end domain expertise and people from front end knowledge and put them into a team. And, the results were very mixed, but the story I want to share today is how we failed at full stack teams, because the work we were doing was very back-end focused. It wasn't the case where we were iterating on a portal very fast or something. Like the front-end work was very much driven by the back-end features. So on this one specific full stack team, the members of the team who were experts in front-end would not have enough stories in their backlog. They felt like it was a big ask to get familiar with a whole new stack that they are not experts in. Some people were more open to it than the others. And as a result of it, like the team sort of had their productivity just go down and happiness go down. So that was something that I learned quickly from, because I saw that people are not happy. And when you do a org design or a reorg as a leader, it's very important to understand the reason why you're doing this. And there's no one size fit all, or just because full stack teams work in one setting doesn't mean it will always work in this setting.
Right between teams. Sorry to cut you off, but I think you're totally on point there, where it's just like things are really different depending on the team and the situation and the people involved, which sounds like you realized pretty quick.
Exactly. So I think when we made those decisions to sort of reconsider it, bring all the front end people together, then I feel like the team was much more happier. They were able to work as a team and help each other out and move things faster, while the back end folks were more focused on intricate, complex architectural work and worked at a different pace. So I think it was worth like trying this out and experimenting and making it time bound, so that, we don't have people sort of go through these waves, which really is something that people don't like in terms of engineering, or going through multiple changes without the change leading to a positive effect. Yeah, but I'm happy to share that once we reversed the changes and did the right things, the team's velocity shot up and they were able to deliver all their projects. We didn't lose anybody, so we were able to retain each one of them. And we also found one person who showed more interest in the back-end work and started picking up that end of the stack too. So overall, I think it was a screw up while we lived through it, but we came out on the positive side of it.
Well, I love that you're addressing it. You're saying, like we screwed up with the initial decision, but we thought about it. And like you said, you time box it. Was it 90 days, 6 months? Like how long were you doing it for? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think it was around 6 months, because like that amount of time you need a team to get together and
really experience it. Yeah.
Norming, storming, performing. Right?
Could you tell quickly that it probably wasn't going to work? Were you a couple months and you went, oh, we'll see? Or when did you kind of realize fully that it wasn't working?
Yeah, that's a great question, Connor. So I think as a leader, you have to exercise so much patience, right? Because you see sometimes that you have an intuition or you see signs that things are not working, but you have to still trust people, empower them, and give them an opportunity to succeed at this, right? But
Mhm.
the point where it was very obvious that this is not working is when I was speaking to one of these engineers, and it was a female engineer, and the conversation was just around like how unhappy they are and why were they feeling this way, because like overall they still had the same co-workers more or less, they still had the same benefits, they still had the same projects, but to them they enjoyed pairing with people and that's how they were really productive. But in this new setting they felt very lonely, they didn't have anybody to pair with for the exact uh, PR they would be putting forth. And at that point, it was like the aha moment for me that
Totally.
this is not working for the people. So we cannot just continue with it, even though the idea of it sounded really good in terms of achieving cross team collaboration and pollination.
I love that you're really using this people first idea of saying, okay, you know, we can't just shove people into a form and expect it to work. We have to actually think through like, how does this impact them and track and measure and talk to them. What kind of ways were you doing that tracking or doing that measurement of how successful these individuals were being?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely. Like, I think one thing that sums all these things up is engagement, right? Like, and that is like, how frequently are they committing code? How good is their code? Are they able to meet the deliverables? But also more on the personal side of it, right? Like, are they engaged? Are they working well with their coworkers? Are they lifting the team or are they dragging the team? So,
Right.
those were some of the measures. And we used to do like pulse surveys too, which sort of also gave us some quantitative data where we saw
Totally.
the pulse of the team sort of go down, or specific feedback around this whole way of work.
So I guess my question now would be, obviously, you know, you've learned from this experience, you've grown, I'm sure, done reorgs since then. What is your strategy now when you're approaching a reorg? What kind of things do you do differently or improvements have you added?
Yeah, that's a great question because this topic is very interesting to me, especially when you're in a high growth phase where you have single digit engineers to like
Yeah.
bring it to three digits or more, right? So for me, some of the things that I consider, I approach reorg or org design, as I like to call it, similar to how you design a software component and what are the goals of it, like what I'm trying to optimize on, what are the trade-offs, and then also considering what is the gap, because somebody like a change always allows people to sort of step up, right? For some people, and for some people it's a risky maneuver because they are risk averse or whatever. But I mean, I also look at like if I'm putting somebody new in this role, what do I need to do to invest in their success, right? So it's not like, hey, you got this thing and go figure it out. Those are some of the things that I consider, but I think it's also starts by grounding what are our values, what is our culture, and it requires a degree of change management, which also needs to influence how people feel about things, how they show up, and how they have responsibility or accountability towards their work. And to me, that's why my approach is like I don't make changes unless they're absolutely necessary, and when I do, it is very thought through, and I have worked through multiple combinations and the trade-off analysis before I put forward the presentation on what I want to do to my leadership. And once I have buy-in, I also have a very thoughtful process of how I roll it out. Like it's important to me that people who are affected by any kind of change, they are informed first, and then the rest of the organization is made aware, and everyone knows who the go-to person is.
Absolutely. I think you're very smart to be doing that intentional organizational design, as you put it, because not only is it important regularly, but especially as we have transitioned to this hybrid or remote world, where we don't have the kind of advantages of having people in the office to easily, talk things out. That intentionality up front is really important. And I think that's super crucial. And one of the reasons that, you and Equinix have been so successful. So Thank you so much for taking the time to share that with our audience. I know a lot of folks in the chat and attending today are leaders who are either starting their own organizations or scaling and working to learn. And that experience and that perspective, I think, is so valuable. So thank you. It's always such a pleasure, Shweta, to have you join us for any DevRapid event. And we're so excited you could join us for Interact.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I enjoy talking to this community and appreciate the opportunity.